Hey everybody, it's Dave Duford at Final Expense Agent Mentor, where I help agents like you succeed in the life insurance business. And in today's presentation, we will be discussing an introductory analysis and observation of the mortgage protection sales business. So if you are potentially looking to get involved in the mortgage protection business, and you've gotten a basic understanding but want to know all the details that really make this particular business model relevant, then this video is for you. I have compiled all the facts and the pros and cons and all the information in between on what makes mortgage protection a definitely viable life insurance sales model. So sit back, take notes, and my goal for today is to help you understand with more understanding on how this particular program works and what the benefits are potentially to you. So a little bit about myself. If you've never met me before, my name is David Duford. I am the owner and operator of Final Expense Agent Mentor, where not only I help final expense agents succeed, but insurance agents like you in different lines like mortgage protection and others as well in the insurance business. We're going to talk about the mortgage protection business, kind of answer what mortgage protection product does, why you should consider selling it, which includes the pros of the business, where mortgage protection is sold. We're going to talk about the kind of environments you'll be in and how it's sold, in what context it is, the drawbacks of this business. There's no insurance business that's perfect. We're going to definitely dive into those as well. Give you some advice on selecting the best mortgage protection agency. It is not exactly what you think. It's important to dispel some of these concerns so you know exactly how to make the right decision, and then give you some other factors to be concerned with as you choose the right program and organization to join. Then I'm going to give you my final thoughts and next steps on moving forward. So if you haven't met me yet, my name is David Duford. I'm the owner and operator of FEAgentmentor.com. Like I said in the last slide, I help agents of all varieties, originally with final expense. Now I've broadened my scopes. I help agents in different lines with their particular goals and succeeding in their business. And I've been licensed, about myself, a little bit about myself. I've been licensed since 2011 as a life insurance agent. My specialty has always been in final expense insurance. I've helped over 3,000 families with their life insurance needs since I started at that point. As you can see over in the lower left-hand corner, I am also an author of the official guide to selling final expense insurance, bestseller on Amazon. It's helped out a lot of people do better as final expense agents. I'm also, of course, a recruiter, a marketer, as they say, and I help recruit life insurance agents into the final expense business and life insurance business across the nation, helping them succeed in this business and helping people in their own community with life insurance. And of course, I'm on YouTube. I do daily videos about all sorts of topics related to selling insurance and life insurance. So if you like sales training, you like to get in contact with somebody that can help you with those things, join my YouTube channel if you haven't already. That is exactly what I do on those channels. And last but not least, I'm married with children. My fourth is on the way at the filming of this presentation. So wish us luck. So let's answer the first question, just to make sure we're all on the same page, and answer what exactly is mortgage protection. So mortgage protection insurance is a life insurance product that's sold with the goal of paying off the mortgage upon the passing of the insured. I am of the belief that the best markets to get involved with in the life insurance business, especially if you're newer, are in markets where there is a life event closely connected with the market or the product that you're selling. One of the biggest reasons people buy life insurance is because they owe somebody money. It could be in the context of business. You may have a loan against your business, and the banks want it insured. Because if the owner steps out and the bank steps in, they're much easier having a policy pay off the loan than the bank having to deal with partitioning the business to recoup their losses on the main person leaving. So with that said, in the traditional day-to-day activities of normal people who are employees that aren't necessarily self-employed, the biggest obligation that people have is the mortgage. It is the biggest thing that needs to be covered. And so what happens when people take life insurance, or when they buy a home and then file a mortgage? Now they owe a lot of money. And the concern, if it wasn't there before, many times manifests itself as having a reason why to own a life insurance, to ensure that that mortgage is covered in the untimely death of the insured. So that's a great reason to sell mortgage protection. We'll get into that a little bit later. But typically, most mortgage protection products are non-med, no-exam term life insurance. So what I mean by that is you've got your traditional life insurance products where there's an examination, there's blood drawn, there's a whole entire process. Mortgage protection revolves around the simplification of issuing policies. So what happens is most of the policies you'll write as a mortgage protection agent are going to be non-med. They're going to be products in which there are no examinations. You can certainly do those. There's nobody saying you can't. But most agents choose to go the simplified issue route to quickly get policies issued at competitive and fair rates. At times, both fully underwritten and simplified issue whole life products can be used depending on the situation. So while I'm not saying that everything you'll write for a mortgage protection client will be a term insurance product, there are circumstances where perhaps the mortgage protection client is advanced in age, they still have a mortgage, and they still have concerns about covering it, but perhaps they cannot qualify for a term insurance product. Perhaps they're too old or their health isn't as good as it could be. This is where simplified issue whole life products to pay off the mortgage payments for a period of time versus paying off the entire balance of the loan can be a sensible solution to provide liquidity so the spouse can get back on her feet and take care of things to get ready to sell the house versus in a fire sale where the value of the home may be a lot less than what they'd like to have it for. So these are some reasons why you could use other products as well. Most commonly sold after a mortgage loan closes and filed with the county. So again, this ties into my original explanation. This is a life event driven purchase. With more people buying homes, the realization obviously hits that they're obligated to this thing for 15, 20, 30 years. And it is a huge sum of money. And when you connect the dots, if the money dries up because of death and income is irreversibly altered, what happens then? Thus walks in the inherent need for a mortgage protection type of policy. Most mortgage protection prospects work. This is another thing. So I mention this because unlike products like selling final expense or Medicare, where most of our prospects are retired, thus can be seen during the day, mortgage protection, because our prospects work, have gainful employment. You'll be seeing them in the mid-afternoon to evening hours, mostly. You'll see some of them on their off days, of course, but most of the work you're going to be doing is kitchen table work at night. So now let's talk about why or what the benefits are to selling mortgage protection. I personally think that mortgage protection is a great opportunity for the right kind of agent. And many people do ask, well, why would I want to consider mortgage protection versus another line of insurance? So before we get to the drawbacks, because there's always drawbacks or anything, let's talk about the definite pros to selling a mortgage protection type of market. So first of all, mortgage protection allows for very high first-year commissions relative to other lines of insurance. Most of the premium sizes you'll write for mortgage protection tend to be much higher than final expense. Your average final expense plan's around $50 a month. My understanding, as far as the average in mortgage protection, you're looking at $70 to $80 a month, maybe a little bit more, but maybe a little less, somewhere in that neighborhood. And commission levels tend to follow in that same trajectory as well. So if you need to make money and you need to get out there and start producing and earning a living right away, mortgage protection definitely provides for that. And like I've mentioned several times already, I won't go into too much detail again, this is a life event driven strategy that allows for a direct lead campaign built around that event. Of course, the reason why, as we'll get into in a little while later, the leads are so effective is because the advent of us getting this information is based off of the mortgage filing, which is made public information, which we crunch into a mail campaign. And then from that, we get the leads back to go see these people. So it's all very intelligently timed around that instant moment in which they become believers in being open-minded at the minimum to this kind of product. Mortgage protection is a one-call close sales cycle. Okay, so the people that are replying back to these cards, as you'll see in some of my other videos shortly, if you haven't already, the mortgage protection lead is very specific. They know exactly what it's about. There's no punches pulled. And so the one-call sales close cycle, when you get in front of these prospects, they know what's going on. And there's a higher likelihood you're going to sell them because of the strong lead that's developed from them. And so it's very common you'll sell most, if not all, of these clients that are to be sold on the very first visit you see them. Again, simplified issue products. This is one of the biggest drawbacks to a traditional approach to selling life insurance. And yes, in some cases you can get a better price if you fully underwrite the product on the client, but many times you'll wait months before the policy is issued. And then you become an administrator between the company and the client on getting additional forms signed, asking for additional information, and it can bog down your actual sales activity. Therein lies the benefit with a simplified issue, non-medical approach to selling insurance through mortgage protection. Most of the products you'll sell are going to be one application. There won't be a phone examination. In most circumstances, there will not be a medical exam for most of the products you write. So as long as everything's clean and all the information that's requested by the underwriters, usually you get these policies issued within a week or two at tops. So you get paid faster. Okay, so there's not 2 or 3 months before you get paid on a fully underwritten deal. There's 2 or 3 weeks tops. And cash flow is king in this business. It allows you, obviously, the more money you have on hand, the more you can buy more leads and stay in business, pay your bills, and help more people. There's a lot of cross-sell opportunities when it comes to mortgage protection. You've got all sorts of opportunities, mainly because, which we'll get into in a little while, the main reason you do is because these are working people. They're people with disposable income. They're people that as they get older, their needs in life will change. And they will, for the smart agent, you'll be able to sell other insurance to them as time goes on, if not right on the first call. So things like index universal life plans, very popular in this market. Also single premium whole life, simplified issue products, children's policies, that kind of thing. All are there for the taking and will allow you to go broad and wide in a client's home so that you can solidify your sale with more people insured. Let's talk about where you can actually sell a mortgage protection life insurance policy. So mortgage protection, in my experience and discussions with a lot of different mortgage protection agents, is that most of the agents, and this will become clear why in the drawback section, work in medium to large cities. And this is namely due to lead generation limitations. So I, for example, talked to an agent that lived in Cleveland or Columbus, Ohio, and he worked primarily the surrounding Columbus area, which is a rather large city. But I believe he would go down to Cincinnati. He would go up to Cleveland if necessary. So he covered a large distance, even with medium to large cities, in order to fill leads. Now, I don't want to say here that this is a product that cannot be sold in small towns. It certainly can. It's just that when you start looking at the numbers of how many homes are sold in a small rural town versus a metropolitan large area, you'll find that you'll get maybe 1 or 2 leads if you're lucky out of a rural area, whereas you'll get 15 or 20 out of a more metro area. And so if you work more rural areas, you'll be spread out more. Now, on the other hand, the benefit to that is there's not going to be as many agents mailing at those places. But it just seems to be, based on my experience, that the mortgage protection guys tend to focus in an area that is largely populated. Now, when you sell mortgage protection, it's going to be a kitchen table sale. You're going to sit at the home of the client. You're not at their work like employee life insurance products. And you're going to be there with both spouses present. Obviously, the goal is to get both of them insured. It doesn't matter who is a breadwinner or if both are. There's definitely a case to be made, case to be sold on both prospects, both spouses. You definitely don't want to do one-leggers. If not near a large city, agents must cover a large area to sufficiently generate mortgage protection leads. So it kind of goes back to what I said in my earlier example. You've got to be in a position where many times you're willing to travel a little bit further in order to work the leads where they come in. And again, it's mostly evening work, kitchen table work. You're going to be there mid-afternoon to late evening, sometimes a couple days a week in order to fulfill what leads you need to work. So now let's move right along to talking about the most effective way to sell mortgage protection insurance. And what I infer by this, what I mean, is that I want to show you the best and most optimal setups. The problem with this business is that much of the mortgage protection business is built around the multi-level marketing approach to selling. And therein lies the problem. It's typically recruitment focused and not producer generation or producer training focused. So let's talk about these a little bit in more detail. So the first thing you want to be concerned with is the lead system. With mortgage protection, it's undoubtedly a lead system based upon direct mail if you want the best approach. I have seen Facebook leads that work. I think they're very good for supplemental reasons. But generally speaking, you want a lead system that's focused around generating leads through a direct mail system. And when you do direct mail, this is another important point. Direct mail turns fast. The best systems in the mortgage protection business get the most freshest information. They mail it out first class, and then the card's sent back first class. Why is this important? Well, in mortgage protection, everybody knows that as soon as a mortgage is filed, the goal is to get in front of these people while the cost and the enormity of the cost is fresh on the prospect's mind. And so if I file a mortgage, or if my mortgage is filed today, and let's say today's Wednesday, the best systems will take that information by that same week, Friday, pull that data, put it into a mail house shipment, print off the leads that Friday, and send them out at least by Saturday, if not by Monday. And then they arrive that's next week, and then the clients see them and hopefully send them back fairly quickly, and then we get them back first class. So within 2 weeks, we're seeing people who have just bought their new homes. That is the approach you want to use, because the faster you're in front of these people, the better chance you have of selling them. One of the things about mortgage protection that's true is that many times the first person in wins. There's a lot of other people who are doing this kind of setup too. And so speed matters, and getting in front of these prospects first makes a huge difference on the number that you're actually going to sell. The other thing that you want to make sure with the lead system is that you have exclusivity. Now, what does that mean? Well, a lot of these multi-level marketing shops resell leads. They're in the lead business as much as they're in the insurance business. And what that simply means is that they'll get a fresh lead, they'll sell it to a top producer, whether or not he sells it, and even if he does, they'll pass that lead along as a B lead or a C lead or a second chance lead or whatever they call it to make it sound better than it is, which is an old worked lead. And the problem is a lot of these agents get sold on buying leads that are 6 to 12 months old. And while certainly sales can be made, think about it. The chances are much lower, especially if the competition's mailed these people a dozen mailers before you, and if a good agent had worked it prior. So my point is that if you don't work a lead that's exclusive, or that's fresh at least, you're going to be in a situation, and worked, you're going to be in a situation to spend a lot of money on leads that don't manifest into anything. So what you want instead is an exclusive lead that's not resold, that is yours. You literally own that lead. And you want them as fresh as possible so you can get in the door as quickly as possible and have the best chances of making the sale. I'm a big believer, as an insurance agency myself, that you need to have a brokerage setup. What is a brokerage setup? Well, a brokerage setup allows you to represent a multitude of companies, so you can shop for the most competitively priced carriers and have the underwriting flexibility necessary to place every client that you see with the best product. A lot of the large multi-level marketing corporations that do mortgage protection, they're married to one or two particular companies, and they're required to keep quotas and to keep their contracts at the levels that they are to send them X amount of business. So they'll push a particular company. Again, my belief is the problem I see with that is that may not be the best overall package for your clients. And if you are around competitive agents that are good, they may come back and try to replace that business. Maybe they come in after you do, and the good agent knows how to replace it and get a better price. You'll be out of a deal because you're pushing a product that may not be the best suited for the client. So having brokerages that understand competition and pricing and underwriting flexibility and setting yourself up to do that is paramount to your success long term. I like 3 carriers to start with and then grow out your carriers from there. I'm a big believer, point number 3, is that you have to have a maximal upside opportunity. Again, not trying to beat up the multi-level marketing mortgage protection, but that's pretty much all there is out there. There are other ones that aren't like that, but a lot of the most popular ones you've seen are. And many of them will start you at commission levels of 50%, 60%. And when you're paying for leads that are $40, $50 a lead, it's very hard to make a good living to cover your costs and then pocket some of that as your income. With mortgage protection, generally speaking, you should be seeing commission levels 100% and above. So imagine if you're on a 50-point contract and you sell a $1,000 deal, you're making $500. When you could work with an organization that gives you a 100% contract, now you're making $1,000. You got a $500 raise for the exact same work that you did prior to that. And so while it's important you get training, you got to ask yourself, is it really worth that much of a haircut? So now not all simplified issue term is going to pay 100% plus. A lot of them will, and you can associate your contracts and your business around that. Some are going to pay a little bit less than that. But it's important that the concept is the case that you are maximizing your upside opportunity. Because ultimately, as you're trained, you should be self-sufficient in generating your own leads and seeing the people and closing the deals. You should take home the lion's share of the commission, not your uplines, not the multi-level marketing organizations that at some point don't do anything for you. And part of that is also access to mentorship. I'm a big believer that in order to do the best that you can in your said profession, no matter whatever it is that you're saying, you should have somebody who is literally dedicated to servicing you. When you've got an underwriting question you can't answer, when you've got questions about a product or lead issues, anything like that that comes up in the regular course of business in the mortgage protection business, you should have somebody who can help you out, who can coach you, who can analyze your sales calls and help you become better. And you need to have somebody who's actually sold insurance, who understands the process. The sales process is pretty much the same no matter what it is that you're selling. Mortgage protection, final expense, Medicare. It's certainly helpful to have somebody who understands the products and understands the process. But the key thing is to have somebody who's had success in the insurance business on your side. What you don't want instead is somebody who's always just recruited agents that doesn't have any in-the-trenches experience of any kind. We call those guys marketers, and it's kind of a slur in the insurance business, especially amongst producers. I like to think of myself as a producer because that's all I've done my entire career, and I've only recently, well, a couple of years really, recruited agents, but I've never given up personal production entirely. So I've always maintained an active pulse and connection with the field. I think that's important to associate yourself with organizations that are sales agent minded and focused. So let's talk about the drawbacks. I've mentioned this a couple times when it comes to the mortgage protection business. We need to know exactly what may not be the best benefits, what maybe some just flat out drawbacks to selling mortgage protection. Because just like any business and selling insurance, final expense, Medicare, there's things that aren't going to be perfect. There's things you're going to have to deal with. One may require more service work than another, but either way, it's important you know what to expect as you get into it. So let's talk about some of the drawbacks. So the first one is going to be the lack of lead density. This is probably the biggest drawback to selling mortgage protection. So I'll give you an example. When I pull up data to do mortgage protection leads in my area, and if I want 20 leads a week, I have to work, let's see, I have to work cities that are 150 miles away from me. in 3 different directions, including my own, to get just 20 leads. So what happens is in my circumstance, is that I'm going to have to cover multiple areas in a day over a long distance in order to get the kind of lead flow that I'm thinking I want to get. So what happens is, for a guy that's ambitious, that really wants to work this business hard, he's going to have to cover multiple areas. Unless you live in a very big city, we're talking LA or Atlanta or Orlando, sure, you're going to maybe be able to get the 15 to 20 leads a week that you'd like. But if you live in medium-sized towns, the strategy I've seen most employed is that agents are going to do what I suggested, which is work multiple mid-sized towns around them, or otherwise they'll fly or drive to larger areas where leads have accumulated, where agents don't necessarily go to. I remember one story of one agent who lived in Dallas that would drive 9 hours to El Paso once a month to work the leads that accumulated out there. And it was very good for her. She made a lot of money because a lot of agents just don't go to El Paso. It's well out there and it's not close to anybody. So that made sense for that particular agent. But you have to analyze what it is that you're willing to do. And to get 15 to 20 leads a week, you're going to have to cover a couple hours driving distance in each way and being flexible to go see the people and work the leads. The other thing is the lead cost. This is a close second to the lead density issue, and it really has a perfect correlation with the lack of lead issue. The one thing I'll mention here with the lack of lead density, the main reason for this is because the lead density issue is based on how many mortgages are filed at the county courthouses each week, if we're doing fresh mailers. And so that's why you end up in this position to where you don't have as many people to see, because you may have, even in a medium-sized town, only several hundred new loans filed, and that's only going to give you a handful of leads. So that's why we got to cover multiple areas, and it just deals with the fact that, relative to the mid-2000s and everybody's going bonkers buying houses, even today in the good times, the late 2010s, there's still not as many people buying houses as there were then. So it makes for that the mortgage protections guys got to handle a lot more area in order to get sufficient leads. And so, as I was saying, with lead costs, that's in a similar vein. We're using very specialized leads to develop mortgage protection leads. We are getting information, and all sorts of information. We get the name of the bank we did the mortgage from. We get the amount that they're getting. We get the date in which it's filed. Obviously, it's pretty fairly close to when we send them the letters. And so the lead is extremely powerful. And because there's so much into this lead compared to, let's say, final expense or Medicare leads, which typically is just a name and an age and an address, there's going to be a higher cost for these leads. It only makes sense because at the end of the day, because there's so much more in the quality of the information in that list, it's going to be a higher cost. And especially, one of the rules of marketing is that the list, the actual information as to who we're selling, is the primary driver to the success or failure of a lead piece. And you would think it's what it says, but it really is who it goes to. And so that's why the lead costs are a lot higher. You're looking at lead costs, generally speaking, mid-40s to mid-50s per lead on average. And it could go higher in some circumstances. Usually it's within that range. But again, that is the biggest problem with the mortgage protection business, with generating leads. But I will preface it with this. You're going to close more business if you're a good agent overall. You're going to see and book more appointments relative to other lines of insurance. Your persistency is going to be better, meaning the quality of business that stays on the book than, say, final expense. And lastly, when you work a mortgage protection lead, you're going to have less no-shows. So you'll see more people. You don't need as many leads to see more people. You'll make more commissionable sales. Like I said, you've got actively working people. So if you're a smart agent that wants to do this for a career, you're going to create a clientele and begin relationships, and you'll sell more insurance to these people as their needs change and create a book of business. And so, yeah, it may cost more, but the opportunity is a lot higher than, say, a lower price lead where there's more prospects but aren't nearly as qualified. Hopefully that makes sense. Trying to take a negative and turn it into a positive, because it really is, because you really are paying for a much better quality lead with mortgage protection than, say, final expense or Medicare. Now, another big drawback is yes, you're going to be working mostly at night or possibly the weekends when you sell mortgage protection. A good mortgage protection agent will get 3, 4, maybe 5 appointments in a day, usually start mid-afternoon, work into the evening. Occasionally you'll get people who are off during the weekdays, you go see them then. But understand that, if you want to get 10 to 15 appointments a week, you're going to be working 3 to 4 nights a week, probably during the week. Certainly don't have to work every single night, but solid 3 nights a week is what it's going to take to get that 10 plus appointment metric hit on a consistent basis. And it's very competitive. And when I say competitive, I don't mean that you're going to be in a bidding war. That the client is going to say, guys, sit down, tell me what you got, and give me the best price right now. It never works like that. But what I mean is that these prospects get a stack of leads very similar to what we mail out right after they file their mortgage and move into their new home. And so it's very likely they'll send in maybe just 1, maybe 2 or 3. And so that's why speed is very important in getting to the client as quickly as possible, because you don't want to be in a position where you pay this much for a lead, just be beat out by a guy by a day or 2. So now that I've talked about some of the drawbacks, let me go back and describe what I think are some of the important points of selecting the right mortgage protection insurance agency to work with. So it's really important you get this stuff off on the right track right away. One of the things, as I've recruited hundreds of agents in this business, what I've realized is that this may be your only shot in the insurance business. Most everybody comes in this business for the money and the freedom. My goal over time is to help change perspective of an agent to realize that you can really do very good work and help people in ways unimaginable. You don't really understand it until you get into this business, how you can help people with insurance and be proud of your profession on top of making a good living. But too many agents leave this business because the setup is so crappily designed that what ends up happening is these agents flunk out because there's just no upside opportunity, or the costs are just too high, or the training is just severely lacking. So much so that the agents give up and they leave with a bad taste in their mouth and just believe, insurance business is a racket. It's a ripoff, it's a scam. And that's sad. And a lot of it rests on the lapse of these multi-level marketing organizations that just hire in masses, train you in classes, teach you to sell all your friends and family, and then they fire your asses because they've used you and now you're disposable. It sucks. So I don't like that. That's why I talk like this. So let's talk about some factors you should consider when joining an agency. So first thing, you got to get in-person training. You want to work with somebody who will actually work with you face-to-face, who will show you the process of selling, who will dial you into training modules to better understand the product, to better understand the market, and to better understand the sales process. And ideally, you'll work with somebody in person who is an experienced insurance salesperson, somebody who has dealt selling insurance. And I can tell you, insurance is insurance. Sure, there's technical differences, but dealing with people is a portable strategy. Like for myself, I am a final expense agent by trade. I have not done really any type of mortgage protection sales personally. However, the process is going to be extremely the same. You sit down with your client, you get them to trust and like you. You ask them very good questions to help open them up to see what it is and reasons why they sent the information back. You gather that information, pre-qualify them, and then you show them an offer and explain to them why this offer is a good offer. And the best way to do that many times is compare it to some other offers that are out there and then ask for their business. And it's the same process that all salespeople use, and it's portable everywhere. But so having somebody that is on your side that can help coach you through that and can work with you personally to show you how to do that stuff is extremely, extremely important. Continuous support, that's another thing that's important. When you get out in the field and you're starting on your own, you're on your own. It's your job to set the appointments. It's your job to get in front of these people and to take that script and training you got initially and to implement it on your own. But we know nothing's perfect. You're going to run into issues to where you're going to need help. Maybe it's with underwriting. Maybe it's with placement. Maybe it's with a sales issue that you need help with. And so for that, you're going to need somebody that's going to be able to contact. You're going to need somebody to help be able to contact and ask these questions live in the home and be able to call or text message or email so you can get some assistance. And so it's important to get that because a lot of recruitment is so geared towards, hey, let me show you a way to make a lot of money and you don't have to do anything. It's called recruiting. You just get anybody with a pulse. If they can fog a mirror, you hire them and you get them in. Well, that person doing all that recruiting that's, hell-bent on doing it, they've never really even sold anything. And so much less, how can you expect somebody in that position to support you or actively have an interest in it? They're too busy recruiting everybody just to go do something. But then they get bogged down by support, and if they even do anything, I can't tell you how many times I've heard of people recruited in these organizations where the upline disappears. They just go away. And that's not the right way to get involved in any business. We wouldn't expect that in a professional capacity, and we shouldn't expect it in this. So having an organization dedicated to supporting you, again, is crucial. Again, kind of getting ahead of myself here, but production-focused or recruiting-focused. If it's a multi-level marketing organization, it's recruitment-focused. You should be looking for an organization that wants to help you develop your craft in selling insurance, specifically mortgage protection insurance. And they should have people who are geared towards doing that and have a pulse on that process. Anything other than that is just shortcoming. Maximal commissionable opportunity. Again, you want to make sure, you may start off at a little bit lower commission in exchange for training and support and all the benefits mentioned. But you want to be able to maximize your earnable income because ultimately the goal for any mentor that brings an agent in, the goal is to get them where they literally have a skill, where they can go out, help people, and make a real good living. They can make a great living. And to do it independently. I can tell you as a mentor, I certainly love helping agents, but I don't want them to rely on me forever. I want them to be able to do this on their own. And when you get an agent who gets to that point where they can do it on their own, there's a point where their income earning capability must reflect that. So you want to make sure an organization you join allows you to earn the most maximal commission that they can based on their capabilities and training. Again, lots of agents leave this business because they're good at it, but the costs are so high because of leads that on a low contract, they just can't justify all the work that they're doing in order to pay this cost off at a small multiplier. Much of this can be solved with maximizing the commissionable opportunity in a non-multi-level marketing environment. And then last thing here, a true brokerage setup. You want to be able to shop different carriers. And yeah, you're going to start with 3, but you want to be able to add more as different opportunities arise. And you're going to need access. You don't want a company that, again, is a product pusher or a carrier pusher because it benefits them at the behest of you and your clients. You want to work with a brokerage, an agency that has access to all the different carriers and wants to help you gain access when you need it, especially after you've gotten comfortable with the first core group of carriers you got. You start to grow out and you're able to add different products under different circumstances. You don't want to be hogtied and hamstrung in a position where you can't do that because it's just not what we do. It's not our policy. That's a disadvantage to you and it's a disadvantage to your client. So let me give you some final thoughts here on the mortgage protection business, kind of wrapping this thing up. So first of all, multi-level marketing is highly prominent in the mortgage protection. Obviously I've talked at length about multi-level marketing and being aware of how they do their setup. They're lower commission setups. They've got lower quality leads. Most of what you're going to see these guys sell are aged leads. They're recycled leads. They've been worked before, and they want to recruit as many people as possible. And sure, they want you to go out and produce, but they're not coming from a genuine standpoint. Their strategy in multi-level marketing organizations is mass recruit. Get as many warm bodies in as possible. with the minimal amount of training and show them how they can go to their circle of influence and repeat the process of recruiting and maybe selling them a policy in the process. And these guys know at the top of the pyramid. And when I say top of the pyramid, these aren't illegitimate organizations. They're legitimate businesses. But the top of the pyramid makes the lion's share of the money. And they don't have to do any of the work to sell anything. So their vested interest is in propagating this process. And yeah, it does work. It does sell insurance. But so many agents fall through the cracks because there's just so much lacking in quality, in quality of training, quality of leads. And so you got to be careful to avoid these recruitment-oriented organizations. They are notorious for turning agents. And what's worse than all of this is an agent who does leave this great business of insurance because their only experience was none of these guys know what's going on. They're all scammers selling a bunch of crap leads, and it's all a joke. It's sad. It doesn't have to be that way. Again, mortgage protection, when the actual process of selling these people go, when you see your prospects, you see your leads, the first one in wins. You got to work a lead where you get the lead fast and you work to see these people fast. That cannot be understated. Leads must turn fast. You must have competitively priced carriers, and I can't say it enough. It's true of any insurance business. This is a simple business. It's one of the biggest attractions to it. Hey, you got a big debt. Why don't we cover it if you die? What would you do if you die? Don't know? Here's a plan that'll cover it. Sign here. You make a good income from it. It's simple. It's repeatable. That's basically the process between each appointment you go on, but it's not easy. You're going to be in a position where people turn you down. They outright lie to you. They throw you out of their house. You're going to be on days where you see 3 or 4 people, nobody buys. Make stretch over a couple of days. You may question your own ability to continue to sell. This business is simple, but it is certainly not easy. And you've got to be able to handle the fact that you will have swings up and down, like in any straight commission job. So let me tell you about some next steps and about a new program that I'm rolling out within my Final Expense Agent Mentor program. So if you're interested in the mortgage protection life insurance business, one of the things I've made in my business that's a bit different is that I have expanded my operations from just a specialty in final expense. Now I am offering the opportunity to mentor with me to sell mortgage protection insurance. So if you're interested in the mortgage protection business and you believe training and mentorship and support from an actual field agent and not some multi-level marketer or just some guy in an office that's never sold anything in his life is important, if you think training is important, then that is what we can do and how we can help you. So let me explain to you how it works. So first of all, what we offer through the mentorship program is a comprehensive direct mail marketing system. Direct mail is king in this business. I will show you a process in which you can develop the amount of leads you need a week to consistently see fresh leads. They are exclusive to you, and the promise is they will never be resold because you own them. Because what I end up doing is referring you to one of my valued mail vendor relationships that I've worked with for years and can trust, and they never sell any of your leads, and I never see them either. So you're a complete ownership. So those are your clients, your leads, and it sets you up on a marketing system that gives you the best odds of success. Nobody can guarantee you're going to succeed, but instead of working old age leads, now you've got a comprehensive system that dials you into leads that are fresh and exclusive to you. You're also going to get sales and product training. One of the things I've realized in recruiting agents and investigating other sales opportunities and other insurance sales opportunities is that a sales presentation and a sales process is extremely the same. While I don't have specific ongoing years in the mortgage protection market, I can tell you the process in which people sell is practically the same. Just like when you set appointments or you prospect, people are going to have the same objections. I didn't know this was about life insurance. I didn't know, you were going to come by, wanted something mailed, and there's rebuttals to handle that. There's a process that works. And with sales, the process to sell insurance is fairly the same. So the strategy that I teach is very similar to my mentorship program. There's some slight differences to accommodate just some basic differences between selling final expense and mortgage protection. But the system that I teach definitely works, and it will definitely work for you. And if you value tapping into a system that's proven to sell insurance, and you value a system in which will teach you about the products that are out there and tell you how they work and why they're beneficial, and if you like somebody that can help explain that on a one-on-one fashion, then this type of program is perfect for you. Again, this ongoing support and mentorship from me personally makes a huge difference in many of my agents' lives. Again, people work with me because they value a one-on-one connection. They do not value the typical marketing setup to where you get a contract and they never talk to you again. But they want to work with somebody who wants them to help be coached, to help them improve their skill set, and to help them succeed and also have the maximal opportunity available. Again, in the position that I'm in my organization, I don't have any sort of requirements for production. So I have no marriage to one carrier over another. There's no underhanded motives. My main concern is to help my clients and my agents to help their clients get the best coverage that they can and they can qualify for. And then when the needs arise, we can pick up different carriers to help accommodate for the agent so that they're getting the best job done for their clients and making the most sales that they can. So again, we don't want to force it into one product or two and that's it. We want to give you long-term access to different carriers. Of course, we start with a focused core 3, is usually the case, but we gradually expand that out given the circumstances. And again, maximal commission opportunity. One of the great things I do is, since I don't have this large multi-level marketing downline, which really is the failure of these organizations. The reason you start at 50% is that the top guy, the huge organizations that are doing 50, 70 million in production, they're probably 160, 170 point contracts. So between 50 and 170, you've probably got a dozen people in between making 5 points, 10 points in between you. And while I don't like to get people so uber concerned about what they're actually making and what they're taking home and feeling slighted by it, you can't help but to wonder, if I'm making 50% and there's another 120% and 12 people above me getting it, what did they do to earn it, right? And so that's why there's this low level of opportunity in multi-level marketing setups. Whereas with me, it's just direct to me. You're on a contract that starts slightly lower to begin with in exchange for the training, the lead setup, and the ongoing support, but the goal is to get you well and above that 50%. You're not even going to start near that level, but the goal is to long-term get you to the highest levels that we can for personal producers so you can maximize your take-home income. My opinion, as I've explained, is that after training is complete and the agent is self-sufficient, who am I to take more money in overrides from that agent when they do it all themselves and just need the occasional phone call to clarify or ask for help? That's how this business should be. And that's how I set my business up, because I believe it should be that way. So if you like what you hear, here's what you need to do next. Go to my website. It's feagentmentor.com. Specifically, go to the contact page. You can put /contact at the top. And then send me a message that way and ask for the mortgage protection sales overview video, which will go into a little bit more detail about how the mortgage protection program works. And then you and I will set up a time. We can speak more in depth if everything sounds good to you and matches what you want to accomplish. If you like this video, please thumbs it up. If you'd like to leave a comment or subscribe, please do if you haven't already. And thank you so much for listening, guys. Dave Duford, Final Expense Agent Mentor. Take care.